and welcome to Poison Paint Factory. My factory designated name is Poison226. Nice to meet you. So this is the model we're painting today. As you can see, it's Mankind from the Heroclix game, from the expansion Rock and Sock Connection, I believe. I bought this just on a whim and I really did not like that face. Whatever they were doing there, it just didn't work for me. I thought, hey, I could do better, let's give it a go. So I did. But first we need to strip him. Crack out the cling film. Let's try and protect that base from getting paint strip on it. This wasn't even sped up, that's how fast I am. Check it out, we're even doing in between his legs. And I just used a bit of sellotape to keep it all in place. Fancy. Now you really don't want this stuff to get everywhere, so I was using a plastic container and a glass. As you can see, everything has skulls on it, or in this case is skull shaped. And this is BioStrip. This is the stuff I've used for stripping old painted minis that I've got. Always wear gloves. Please don't get this on your hands. And here, look, it's bamboo, so it's good for the environment too. So this is how it works. You slap it all over the model, like this, and it's this weird viscous consistency. And just give it a brush. Make sure every inch of it's covered. I've used this on my Skaven army, which I bought on eBay because it's an old school Skaven army with square bases. And it absolutely worked a treat. It was the best way of stripping back then.
A few minutes later.
I thought if I just dropped him in that it would help. It really didn't help at all. I'm really scrubbing at it, I'm really trying, and it's just not lifting this paint. It must be what they've sealed it with, I believe, because it's meant to be handled a lot more than, you know, my usual miniatures are handled. And look, he looks really shiny and clean. So we're going to try something else now. We're going to just dip him straight in it and not worry about the rest of the base.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Fishing back out, remember, wearing your gloves. Kind of smells like baby powder. I don't know if anyone else has smelt this stuff before, but yeah, it's got like this weird kind of gloopy texture that goes everywhere, and it smells like baby powder. And I'm scrubbing away at it, and it's still not coming, so I did it again. Now maybe I weren't leaving it long enough, but before, when I've stripped the Skaven models, the paint just came straight off within a couple of minutes, and I just gave it a little brush and it was done. This, I'm just giving him a bath. It's literally not doing anything to the paint whatsoever. So I started scraping stuff off with a knife because I couldn't do anything else. And look,
2,000 years later.
This is what he looks like, naked. I can see right through you. Oh yeah, but I daren't do the face because I'm using a knife. So I got some of this Dettol, which I've used in the past for stripping other models. It didn't work as good as the Fuse stuff. And I've got a sonic bath there that I put the model in, and it gives it it lifts the paint better. Weird that his head's brown and his body's see-through. I'm really not sure what was going on with this one. But all the paint's off now through scraping or other means, and straight to undercoating. We're going white because most of the model's white and I want him to pop. The details are very shallow because you're not really meant to paint these guys. So I'm trying to do it with as few coats as possible, but covering up the transparency. Yeah, I'll do. This is what it looks like. This is what Mick Foley would look like if he was a ghost. Ooh. Alright, first colour, we're going with grey because his shirt's white, and you don't want to paint white for a white shirt. This is something I learnt the hard way. As you can see, it's quite watered down like I always do. So it took a few layers to cover him properly, but I prefer that to losing the details. Just take your time, painting's meant to be fun and enjoyable. If you're not enjoying it, don't do it. Have a break, watch a film, play a video game, come back to it later. I'm also doing the boots, which the paint stripper really didn't take the paint off the boots. It was all still clogging up the details and the laces and stuff, so you will find that there's problems trying to strip models like this, but it's what you expect now, I guess. I used black watered down to an ink consistency so that I could find the details and give him a bit of an undercoat. So this is like the darkest recesses. And there, look, he looks like Corey Taylor. And now let's paint his tights. So the tights are meant to be black, but we don't want to paint them black. We're going to paint them really dark grey. This particular grey is really nice because it's got a bit of a brown colour to it, which will go really well with his hair and his mask. And it'll just be a bit more interesting than just pure black. There you go, look, lovely and smooth. Don't think I missed any anyway. I tend to, when I paint a model, I tend to miss one bit, and it's only when I spin him around that I notice. And onto the flesh. I've gone for quite a middling flesh tone for him. That's so that we can brighten it up for the highlights and darken it down for the recesses, the bits that are going to be in shadow. But this is the basis of that. And remember, he's got a little bit of his mask where you can see through it and see his skin. There's a little bit between Mr. Socko and his sleeve, and obviously the forearm on his other arm showing. Don't forget his neck. And his tie, I decided to go with a different type of dark grey so it would look different to the tights. I didn't want all the textures to blend into one. Yeah, not too shabby. The fun stuff now, let's paint the hair. The difficulty with doing the hair and the face is I wanted the mask to stand out against the hair, so I had to consider that at all times. We're going to do a little bit of mixing later so we get some different tones, but I think it looks alright. It's a nice darkish brown. Back to black. So I've got his eye socket and his mouth. He looks a little bit like a Muppet right now. And I've also black lined around the tie, around where his shirt and trousers meet, his boots, his wrists. Basically anywhere where two different textures will collide. Oh yeah, where his hair and his shirt match. And also under his arms I've done very watered down just to show a little bit of shadow. And white. So we're doing that for the eye, Normally I don't go pure white, but for this, because it's such a small model, I need his eye to stand out. We've done a little dot in the middle of his eye. Notice I'm only doing one eye, his other eye's in shadow. You'll see later. And I've done a little dot of white in that black pupil. So we can brighten it up with a bright orange to show like a hazel eye colouring. And I was really brave and put a dot of off-white on that so it looked like light reflecting from it. Gone back to his hair now after I've had fun playing around with his eye. I'm leaving the darkest bits dark, obviously, to show definition, but the hair strands are very, very shallow, so I've had to build in a little bit of depth to them as well. We've gone for a 50-50 mix, like all times. Whenever there's two colours showing on the screen at once, it's generally 50-50 mix, but you can make your own recipes. And that's the brightest colour that I'm going to use on the hair. I've tried to pick out where I think light would reflect on it. Going mostly, if you're looking at the model, on the left hand side, obviously it will be his right hand side. Now I've painted the mask, so you can see it's kind of like an orangey leathery mask, and some highlights where I want the light to show, and it's also bright around his eye, so it draws your vision to that point of the face where I've spent quite a bit of time. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I thought I'd struggle more with the eye with him being so small and the eye socket still being full of the last paint that I was trying to strip. Black and red leather now, and I've just watered that down and I've done it around the left hand side of him, or the right hand side as you're looking at it, to show shadow. Back to the skin now, and we're just brightening up his forearm and making his fist a bit more defined, because the mould is very shallow and looks like he's just holding a bunch of sausages. And if I turn him, you can see I've darkened down the back. There we go. You can see I've darkened down the back of his arm just to show that it's in shadow. And blending it all. Can you see that? I know it's very subtle. And then just once more, just darkening it down. So under his fist's dark, and where it connects with, there you go, you can see his hand. Trying to make it look as realistic as possible, but it's hard on a model with this little detail, or the shallow details. Okay, my white recipe. So we're going with like a light blue, light grey, whatever colour you want to say. And I've just brightened all the top of his shoulders and the top of his back so that there's some definition. I didn't want it to be too hard lined. I didn't want it to look like his, flash photography gone wrong, Mix 50-50 of that colour and white, and just gone over the highest highlights. Leave some of the blue-grey in so you can see it. As you can see, I've left under his arm so it looks like it's casting a shadow. Yeah, those creases on the top of his shoulders, I'm really pleased with that. But wait, there's more. Yeah, big highlights. So use the white sparingly, and considering this is mostly a mid-grey and a light grey, it reads as white in context, and you've got to always try and think in context with a model. If it was just white, you wouldn't be able to see anything. Back to his tights now, we've finished playing with white. And just tickling where the light would hit. So because it's being cast from Mr. Socko's side, there you go, look, all those creases. And the back heel of his other leg, just where the light would catch. 50-50 of these colours now, and we're just going a little bit smaller, little bit less, and just picking out those details. Now we're really careful with this grey, just putting little dots, little lines, just to show a bit of texture and some creases. Don't be too stressed about it, just have fun. Just play with it. Back in black. And here he is, in all his glory. Yeah, I'm pleased with the bits under his arms. It really does cast a nice shadow effect there. The creases look really crisp. The white is really smooth. I'm really proud of this guy. It was worth the time spent bringing the model up to scratch from the old guys. Now, if we can get a side-by-side comparison going, where you can see the original paint job and my paint job, the original paint job is perfectly usable, and it's saving people who aren't painters like us a lot of time. They can just play straight out the box. I think as far as pre-painted paint jobs are, it's pretty good. I particularly didn't like the mustache looking thing above his lip, but maybe that was just me, I don't know. So I hope you enjoyed the video. It's just been a little bit of fun. I know a lot of people wouldn't share that they struggled stripping the model at the beginning. I thought it was just funny, and I wanted you to see, hey, we're not all perfect, and it isn't going to just work first time, every time. Like I said, I've used that to strip whole armies before, and it's the best thing ever for stripping, but it just would not budge. I had a real fight on with this model, stripping it. But hey, you might use it and it worked perfectly for you. If not, there's other methods, as we've seen today. So, with that said, have a nice day. And so, with all that said, thank you for your time. I wish you a good day, and many more besides. Yours, forever in horror, 2-2.